The screen behind the stage flickered to life. Bruce Lee was not supposed to be watching. He was backstage at the Hong Kong Coliseum, waiting for his turn to present an award at the annual music ceremony. A routine celebrity appearance. But something on the screen caught his attention. A chart. A music chart. The top-selling albums in Asia for the week of November 12, 1972. Number 10. A popular Cantonese singer. Number 9. A Japanese rock band. Number 8. A Taiwanese ballad artist. Bruce scanned the list casually, waiting for his cue. Number 3. Number 2. And then number 1. Bruce Lee stopped breathing. The album at number 1 was not by a famous singer. It was not by a band. It was not even a real album. It was a bootleg. A bootleg recording of Bruce Lee. Not his films. Not his interviews. A bootleg of him playing percussion. Recorded secretly 13 years earlier at Radio Hong Kong Studios. Dragon of Rhythm. The album that was never supposed to exist. The album that his father had ordered destroyed. The album that Bruce had buried in his memory and tried to forget. It was number 1 in Asia. And Bruce Lee had no idea how this was possible. Hong Kong Coliseum. November 12, 1972. The annual Asian Music Awards were the biggest music event of the year. Every major artist in Asia attended. Every record label sent representatives. Every music fan watched on television. The venue was packed with 3,000 people. Celebrities, executives, journalists, all dressed in their finest. The energy was electric. This was the night when careers were made, when records were celebrated, when the music industry congratulated itself. Bruce Lee had been invited to present the award for Best New Artist. A simple task. Walk on stage, read the nominees, announce the winner, shake hands, walk off. He was not a musician. He was a film star. But his fame made him valuable for these events. Celebrity presenters attracted viewers. He had arrived early, as usual, found a quiet corner backstage, practiced his brief remarks. He did not want to embarrass himself in front of an audience that knew music better than he did. And then the screen had shown the chart. Bruce stared at the number 1 position. His own name. His own face from 1959. His own album that should not exist. He grabbed the arm of a passing stagehand. That chart. The one on the screen. Is it real? The stagehand looked confused. Of course it is real. It is the official chart from this week. Why? Bruce pointed at the number 1 position. That album. Dragon of Rhythm. Where did it come from? The stagehand shrugged. I do not know, sir. It appeared a few weeks ago. Nobody knows who released it. But it has been selling like crazy. Everyone wants to hear Bruce Lee play music. Bruce released the stagehand's arm. His mind was racing. The album had been destroyed in 1959. Every copy burned. He had watched it happen. His father had made sure nothing survived. And yet here it was. Number 1 in Asia. Selling like crazy. Someone had a copy. Someone had released it. And that someone had done it without telling Bruce. He needed to find out who. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding. The music ceremony continued around Bruce, but he barely noticed. He presented the award mechanically, smiled for cameras, shook hands with the winner, but his mind was elsewhere. After his segment, he found Raymond Chow, the head of Golden Harvest Studios. Raymond, Bruce said urgently, have you seen the music chart? Raymond nodded, looking uncomfortable. I was going to tell you after the ceremony. I did not want to distract you. Tell me what. Where did this album come from? Raymond sighed. We do not know. It appeared 3 weeks ago. Small pressings at first, then larger ones. Now it is everywhere. Street vendors, music shops, even some legitimate stores are carrying it. Who released it? We have been trying to find out. The pressings come from different sources. Some from Taiwan, some from Thailand, some from right here in Hong Kong. Whoever did this covered their tracks. Bruce felt a mixture of emotions he could not name. Anger that someone had released his work without permission. Confusion about how anyone had obtained a copy. And somewhere, deep down, a strange kind of pride. Number 1. His music was number 1. The dream he had abandoned 13 years ago had somehow come true without him. What does it sound like? Bruce asked. Raymond looked surprised. You have not heard it? I have not heard it since 1959. I do not even know if I remember what it sounds like. Raymond reached into his briefcase, pulled out a vinyl record. I bought a copy this morning. I was going to give it to you. I thought you should hear what the world is hearing. Bruce took the record. His hands trembled slightly. This was his past, resurrected. His abandoned dream, reborn. His secret self, exposed to millions. He did not know whether to be grateful or furious. Perhaps both. They found an empty dressing room with a record player. Bruce placed the vinyl on the turntable, lowered the needle. The first notes of Evening Cha-Cha filled the room, and Bruce Lee heard himself for the first time in 13 years. The sound was not perfect. The recording quality was rough. Whoever had made this bootleg had worked from an old source, possibly a tape, possibly something even more primitive. But the music was unmistakable. The complex rhythms he had developed at 18, the fusion of Chinese and Western percussion, the energy and creativity that he had poured into those recording sessions. It was all there. Bruce closed his eyes. Let the music wash over him. Memories flooded back. Wong Kar-wai counting off the tempo. The cramped studio. The long nights. The belief that he could be something different. The second track began. Fist and Beat. His experimental piece that merged martial arts timing with musical rhythm. Raymond watched Bruce's face. It is good, Raymond said quietly. It is really good. I can see why it is selling. Bruce opened his eyes. I was 18 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just experimenting. Raymond shook his head. You knew exactly what you were doing. This is innovative. This is original. This is the kind of music that creates new genres. He paused. You could have been famous for this, if your father had not stopped it. Bruce laughed bitterly. My father wanted me to be respectable. Musicians were not respectable in his world. And now? Now I am famous for kicking people in films. I wonder what he would think of that. The album continued playing. Water Rhythm. Street Dance. Dragon Dreams. By the time the final notes faded, Bruce had made a decision. I need to find out who did this, he said. Not to stop them. To thank them. Raymond raised an eyebrow. Thank them? Yes. They gave me something I thought was lost forever. They proved that my music had value. They made my abandoned dream come true. He looked at the record. I spent 13 years believing this was a mistake. A wrong turn. A path I should not have taken. But millions of people are buying this album. Millions of people are hearing my music. He smiled. Maybe it was not a mistake. Maybe it was just ahead of its time. Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. The investigation took 3 weeks. Bruce hired private detectives, contacted record industry sources, followed every lead. He spoke to street vendors who sold the bootleg. He traced shipping records. He interviewed music shop owners who had started carrying the album. The operation was larger than he expected. Thousands of copies had been pressed. Distribution networks spanned multiple countries. Someone had invested significant money and effort into releasing this album. But who? And why? The street vendors knew nothing. They bought from distributors who bought from other distributors. The trail seemed designed to be untraceable. Bruce became obsessed with the mystery. He spent hours each day pursuing leads. Linda worried about him. She had never seen him so focused on something outside of martial arts and filmmaking. This matters, Bruce told her. Someone believed in my music enough to risk everything to release it. I need to know who. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A music journalist who had been investigating the bootleg for his own story. He had traced the original master tape to a nursing home in Taipei. The trail eventually led to an unexpected place. A nursing home in Taipei. Inside, in a small room decorated with photographs and memories, lived an elderly man named Wong Kar-wai, the producer who had recorded the original album in 1959. Wong was 78 years old now, frail, his memory fading. But when Bruce walked into his room, the old man's eyes lit up with recognition. June Fan, Wong whispered, using Bruce's Chinese name. You came. Bruce sat beside the bed. You released the album. Wong nodded slowly. I kept a master tape. All these years. Hidden. Safe. When I heard I was dying, I decided the world should hear it. He coughed weakly. I gave it to my grandson. He knows people in the music business. I told him to make copies. To sell them. To let people hear what we created. Bruce took Wong's hand. Why did you not tell me? Because you would have stopped it. You buried that part of yourself. You obeyed your father even after he died. Wong squeezed Bruce's hand with surprising strength. But I knew the truth. I knew the music was important. I knew it deserved to be heard. He smiled. And now it is number 1. Your father was wrong. The world wanted to hear you play. Bruce sat with Wong for 3 hours. They talked about 1959. About the recording sessions. About the night they created something unique. They talked about the years between. Wong's career. Bruce's rise to fame. The parallel paths that had finally converged. and they talked about what the album meant. I always believed in you, Wong said. Not just as a fighter. As an artist. I saw it in the studio. The way you moved. The way you felt the rhythm. You had something special. Bruce nodded. I thought I had to choose. Music or martial arts. My father made me believe they were separate. They were never separate, Wong said. Watch your films. The rhythm is there. The musicality. You brought the music into your fighting. You did not abandon it. You transformed it. Bruce considered this. He had never thought of his martial arts films as musical. But Wong was right. The choreography had rhythm. The editing had tempo. The fight sequences had melody and harmony. He had been making music all along, just with his body instead of an instrument. Before Bruce left, he made Wong a promise. I will release the album properly, Bruce said. With your name on it. With proper credits. With royalties for your family. Wong shook his head. I do not need money. I need to know that it matters. That what we created in 1959 means something. It means everything, Bruce said. It means I was not wrong to dream. It means my music did not die. It means you gave me back a part of myself. He embraced the elderly man. Thank you. For believing when I could not. Wong Kar-wai died 2 weeks later. He passed peacefully, his family said. He had completed his final mission. He had released the dragon's music into the world. Bruce Lee attended the funeral. He spoke about Wong's talent. About his vision. About the night in 1959 when they created something that would take 13 years to find its audience. And he made an announcement. Dragon of Rhythm would be officially released. Properly mastered. Properly credited. With all proceeds going to music education in Hong Kong. The bootleg had proven there was demand. Now Bruce would meet that demand legitimately. The official release happened in February 1973. It debuted at #1 and stayed there for 6 weeks. The album received attention from critics around the world. Music magazines that had never covered Bruce Lee suddenly featured him prominently. Jazz publications analyzed his percussion technique. World music scholars examined his fusion of traditions. Critics who had dismissed Bruce Lee as just an action star were forced to reconsider. This was genuine musical innovation. This was artistic vision. This was proof that Bruce Lee was more than kicks and punches. Radio stations began playing tracks from the album. Evening Cha-Cha became a dance floor favorite. Fist and Beat attracted attention from experimental musicians who saw it as ahead of its time. Dragon Dreams, the closing ballad, moved listeners who had never considered Bruce Lee capable of such emotional depth. Fan letters poured in. Not about his films. About his music. People wrote to say the album had changed their understanding of what was possible. Musicians wrote to say they had been inspired to experiment, to fuse traditions, to break rules. He was an artist in every sense of the word. Bruce began planning a follow-up album. New recordings. New collaborations. A proper studio with proper equipment. He wanted to show the world what he could do with resources and time. He never got the chance. Bruce Lee died on July 20th, 1973. The second album was never completed. Only fragments remained. Sketches and ideas that would never be fully realized. But Dragon of Rhythm survived. It has been reissued multiple times over the decades. Remastered with modern technology. Analyzed by music scholars. Celebrated as a pioneering work of fusion. And every reissue includes a dedication. To Wong Kar-wai, who believed when no one else did. Who kept the music safe for 13 years. Who released it to the world when the time was right. And to every artist who has ever been told their dreams are wrong. Who has been forced to choose between who they are and who others want them to be. This album is proof that dreams do not die. They just wait for the right moment. November 12, 1972. Hong Kong Coliseum. A chart on a screen. A #1 album that should not exist. And the moment when Bruce Lee learned that his abandoned dream had conquered Asia. Not through his effort. Through the faith of a dying producer who believed in music that the world was not ready to hear. Until it was. The dragon played. The world listened. And 13 years of silence ended with the #1 song in Asia. Some dreams refuse to die. They wait. They survive. And when the moment comes, they rise. Like dragons. This story is a work of fiction inspired by real-life themes.